Sophie was about to lay her only daughter, Emma, to rest when her phone rang. The call was persistent, cutting through her tears and confusion. She hesitated but answered, and the voice on the other end left her stunned. She screamed for the coffin to be opened. Some people tried to stop her, but when the undertaker finally lifted the lid, what she saw inside shattered her world. A shocking twist was about to change everything she believed about Emma's disappearance. Sophie's only daughter, Emma, had been missing for 4 agonizing days. Her heart ached with worry and dread as each day passed without news. The day Sophie came home from work and found Emma gone, panic took over. Emma was a shy girl who rarely left the house. Sophie asked her husband, James, where Emma was. James, who had been dozing on the couch, looked puzzled. Emma? She's not here. Maybe she's with a friend, he said, rubbing his eyes. Frustration and fear gripped Sophie. That night, Emma did not return. They called the police, and a frantic search began. The days dragged on, each moment filled with unbearable uncertainty, and hope began to fade from Sophie's heart. On the 4th day, the phone rang. It was the police. Sophie's heart pounded as she listened to the officer's words. A deceased girl had been found. The ground seemed to shift beneath her feet as she took in the directions to the morgue. Upon arrival, Sophie's worst fears were confirmed. It was Emma, her precious daughter, lying lifeless on a cold metal table. The sight was unbearable, and Sophie broke down in tears. She collapsed, overcome by the pain and the harsh reality of losing her child. James, equally devastated, held Sophie, trying to comfort her in their shared grief. The silence of loss was overwhelming. Sophie was a resilient woman and a devoted mother to Emma, a 10-year-old girl who was bright and gentle. After enduring the loss of her first husband many lonely years, Sophie found new hope and love with James. He was kind and supportive, and their relationship blossomed into a happy marriage that brought joy to both Sophie and Emma. But this newfound happiness was shattered by Emma's tragic death. The coroner declared Emma's death sudden and mysterious, leaving Sophie and James bewildered. How could a healthy, lively girl be gone without warning or cause? This unanswered question haunted them. Overwhelmed by sorrow and confusion, Sophie arranged Emma's funeral. Every moment of the farewell was filled with heartache and disbelief. The cemetery was cloaked in a somber mood as Emma's funeral progressed. As her coffin was lowered, a soft melody played, and family members gathered around in sorrow. Sophie, heartbroken, watched as her daughter's coffin descended, the music echoing in her ears. Meanwhile, her phone continued to ring incessantly. Ignoring the calls, Sophie finally put her phone on silent. But a text message caught her eye, bringing an unimaginable shock. Answer the phone. Emma is alive. A mix of hope and disbelief surged through Sophie as she answered the call. A trembling voice on the other end pleaded with her not to bury Emma, insisting she was alive and deserved a chance to live. Sophie's hands trembled as she clutched the phone. The voice on the other end, filled with urgency, repeated, "Please, don't bury Emma. She's alive." For a moment, Sophie stood frozen, her mind racing. How could this be possible? She had seen Emma's lifeless body herself. But the voice was so convincing, so desperate, that it stirred a glimmer of hope within her. Sophie screamed for the coffin to be opened. Family members and friends looked at her in confusion and concern. James tried to calm her down, but she was insistent. "Open it now," she cried, her voice breaking. The undertaker hesitated, but seeing Sophie's desperation, he agreed. As the lid was lifted, everyone held their breath. Sophie's heart pounded in her chest. The moment the coffin opened, a gasp rippled through the crowd. Emma's eyes fluttered open. She took a deep breath, and a faint murmur escaped her lips. Sophie's knees buckled, and she nearly fell to the ground, her hands covering her mouth in shock. Tears streamed down her face as she rushed forward, wrapping her arms around Emma. The crowd was stunned into silence, watching the impossible unfold before them. James quickly pulled out his phone and called for an ambulance, his voice shaking with a mix of fear and relief. The paramedics arrived swiftly and took Emma to the hospital. Sophie and James followed, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. At the hospital, doctors ran a series of tests. Emma was weak and disoriented but very much alive. The medical team was baffled but suggested that Emma had been in a state of suspended animation, a rare condition where the body's vital signs are so faint they are almost undetectable. As Emma slowly regained her strength, Sophie never left her side. She held Emma's hand, whispering words of love and reassurance. James stood by them, his eyes filled with gratitude and wonder. In the days that followed, the mystery of Emma's condition remained unsolved, but Sophie didn't care. Her daughter was alive, and that was all that mattered. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the story, something that went beyond medical explanations. Who had called her? How did they know Emma was still alive? Determined to find answers, Sophie began her own investigation. She contacted the police, who were equally intrigued and offered to help. Together, they traced the call that had saved Emma's life. The trail led them to a small, secluded house on the outskirts of town. There, they found an elderly woman named Agatha. Agatha welcomed them in, her eyes twinkling with a knowing look. "I knew you would come," she said softly. "You see, I have a gift. I sometimes know things others don't. When I heard about Emma, I knew she wasn't truly gone. I had to reach you before it was too late." Sophie listened, her heart filled with gratitude and awe. Agatha's gift had given her a second chance with Emma, a chance she would cherish forever. With Emma back home and slowly recovering, Sophie and James held her close, never taking a single moment for granted. The love and bond between them grew stronger, shaped by the miracle they had experienced. And though the mystery of Agatha's gift remained, Sophie felt a deep sense of peace. Some things in life couldn't be explained, but they could be treasured. Emma was her miracle, her proof that sometimes, hope and love could triumph even in the darkest of times. As Emma's health improved, Sophie and James focused on rebuilding their lives, cherishing every moment with their daughter. The experience had drawn them even closer as a family. Despite the joy of having Emma back, Sophie couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to understand about Agatha's gift and the mysterious circumstances surrounding Emma's near-death experience. One sunny afternoon, Sophie decided to visit Agatha again. She felt a need to thank her properly and perhaps learn more about the mysterious woman who had saved her daughter's life. Sophie drove to Agatha's secluded house, her heart pounding with anticipation. Agatha greeted her warmly, as if she had been expecting Sophie. They sat down over tea, and Sophie began to ask questions about Agatha's gift. Agatha smiled gently. "It's not something I can fully explain. Sometimes, I get visions or feelings about people, especially when they are in great danger or distress. When I heard about Emma, I knew I had to act quickly." Sophie listened intently, absorbing every word. "But how did you know she was still alive?" "The doctor said her vital signs were almost undetectable." Agatha sighed. "I felt her spirit was still tethered to this world. It's as if she was caught between life and death, and my intuition told me she needed help to cross back." Sophie felt a chill run down her spine. The idea of someone having such a powerful, unexplainable ability was both fascinating and unnerving. "I can't thank you enough, Agatha. You gave us our daughter back." Agatha reached across the table and took Sophie's hand. "Cherish her, Sophie. She is a special child, and her journey is just beginning. Take care of her, and always trust your own instincts as a mother." With those parting words, Sophie left Agatha's house feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She realized that the experience had taught her to trust her intuition and appreciate the unexplainable moments in life. Back home, life gradually returned to normal. Emma's recovery was remarkable, and soon she was back to her old self, full of life and curiosity. However, she seemed to have gained a new sense of awareness, as if the brush with death had given her a deeper understanding of the world around her. One evening, as Sophie was tucking Emma into bed, Emma looked up at her with serious eyes. "Mom, when I was in the coffin, I felt like I was in a dream. I could hear you and Dad. I knew you were sad, and I wanted to tell you I was okay." Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Emma, we were so scared. But you're here now, and that's all that matters." Emma nodded, a small smile on her face. "I think there's a reason I came back, Mom. I don't know what it is yet, but I feel like I'm meant to do something important." Sophie hugged her tightly, feeling a mix of pride and awe at her daughter's words. "Whatever it is, Emma, we'll be here with you every step of the way." As time passed, Emma continued to thrive. She developed a keen interest in helping others, often volunteering at local shelters and participating in community projects. Her kindness and empathy touched many lives, and it became clear that her near-death experience had given her a unique perspective on the value of life. Sophie and James watched their daughter grow with a sense of wonder and gratitude. They never forgot the miracle that had brought Emma back to them and the mysterious woman who had played such a crucial role. Agatha's words stayed with Sophie, reminding her to trust her instincts and cherish the moments that defied explanation. Years later, Emma's journey led her to become a doctor, dedicated to saving lives and offering hope to those in need. Her story of survival and the mysterious events surrounding her near-death experience inspired many, and she often spoke of the importance of faith, intuition, and the unexplainable miracles that could change one's life forever. Sophie and James looked on with pride as their daughter fulfilled her purpose, knowing that the love and hope that had sustained them through their darkest times had indeed paved the way for a brighter future.